What's up, peeps? How's it going tonight? Happy Monday. Seems like we just missed the red storm, so I switched up to the 3X so we can see the last remnants of it disappear around the side of Jupiter. You can see it catch a tail of it just in time, but the rest of Jupiter is looking really nice. It's at an optimal altitude. It's going to be a short one tonight, maybe like 30, 45. I still haven't eaten dinner, but I figured I'd just jump on, taking advantage of these nice skies. Got the moon configuration earlier, CEIG, Callisto and Europa at the bottom left, and then Io, you can see it in frame, top right corner, and then Ganymede, top right. Of course, my tracking is still atrocious because I get on so quick I don't have time to do the 2-star stuff. So I'm just gonna keep it centered here and just observe the beauty that is the Jovian system. And jump in the chat as well. Pulling it up right here. You know I know Roger was with us. What's going on? Good to see you, Raj. What's up, Timothy Martin? What up, Tom? What's up, Mary? Why are you so sad? What's going on? We missed the storm? Oh, thanks, Roger. So I'm gonna have a good stream. Feel it. I'm definitely feeling that. I maybe could have gotten on like 30 minutes earlier, but did not have that chance. Still, so cool even. Almost looks like a little mouth about to eat Io. Little Pac-Man Jupiter tonight. God, the pareidolia in space is just overwhelming sometimes. What's up, 921 Virgo? Jovial. Certainly. And you can see really nice, like, stretchy filamentary storms on the upper band leaking into the center. You can see this really great filament. That's dead center, so we'll see that come into better focus over the next 10-20 minutes. Even now you can see the red storm a bit better, and a little birdie went past Jupiter. Indeed, perfect storm on Jupiter. So another stream, another opportunity to repeat precision requests of the reality that I live in. It would be awesome to have an open and public space program with everybody working together, huge space industry, and figure out what's going on, like figure out how to get to the moon, watch people go to the moon. It would be amazing to run live streams while we see rockets take off and send tourists and scientists to different planets and be all a part of it. You know, not everybody wants to do that, but I think it would definitely help and inspire people and bring people together in a larger way for a larger purpose. Oh, so sorry, Mary. Mary's beta died today. Okay, thanks for staying high. Enjoy your night, and Mr. Beta? M Beta? Yeah, Mr. B. Oh, Mr. B has a fishy next life, or maybe a birdie next life. Change up the densities. So, catch you on the next one, Mary. Thank you. What up, Genghis Khan? How's it going? If you just showed up, as you can tell a little bit to the right, we can see the storm passing by just in time for a quick peep. Some awesome upper range cloudage moving into the center. If you can see little dark filaments and IO top right. Oh, hey, what's going on, Deborah? Nice to see you. What's up, Jonah and Kettler, excuse me. What's up, Ellie Wynn? How you doing? Tail end of the storm. Quite literally. But I'm curious about this storm, like in the upper mid region as well. That's going to be a trip. I don't think I've seen anything like that really in that much detail. What up, Light Moon? Ellie, feeling amazed? I'm always amazed by this stuff. That's why I do it. I'm addicted. No, I'm feeling alright. I just watched a couple of episodes of Good Omens, that show on Amazon about the end of the world. There's so many cliches, and I've been not feeling down about all the cliches. I just feel like, man, it's so boring. There's so many cool things going on that we can really focus on. Mainly this crazy storm on Jupiter, which is just like, what is a Jupiter? Like, how is a Jupiter? And why is a Jupiter? You know, like, where's the red spot? Like, leading, what is it gonna do? It'd be really amazing to see scientific groups streaming, taking their time, answering questions on chat rooms. It would be amazing. It's such a Actually, I'm not going to say that it's a shame. It's not a shame. It just should happen. That's what I want to happen. Tim Martin was talking about the Starlink stuff, the satellite grid. That's what I was actually talking about yesterday with all the... I was complaining a bit, or lamenting the situation of satellites. Just because I feel like these articles come out and they just say, listen, blah, 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 spy satellite, or blah, 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 grid satellite, a whole array of satellites is going up, and that's it. You know, these things happen, or probably happen on more occasions than just the times that they're reported upon. But that stuff is really going up there, and then mankind is blamed on a whole for space junk. But it's really it's private industry, and it's only a few people who can really do that, and those are the people that are actually creating space junk specifically. So I think it's important to point that out, and then to comment on those articles and those videos in a very coherent and accurate way, and explain the reasons why we don't want those satellites up there. Like, I don't think it's important, or that important, in fact, to have that much broadband or 5G networks in the jungle. Like, the whole point is to have 5G networks in the cities where you need it, and then to go out to the jungle and experience the jungle or forest as needed. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. That's just my opinion. Everybody, you know, not everybody. I'm going to try and stop using those kind of broad terms and just describing how swaths of people think. But either way, it's still amazing to experience Jupiter and share it with y'all. I'm just picking up a new track here. Let's see. What up there, Miguel Gonzalez? How's it going? My favorite of the new tracks, Cactus Dance, named by Ellie. Let's rock this out. It's the coming of a new age of science, y'all. And if not, who gives a crap? At least we're having fun tonight. What up, Z-Proxy? stands. This is called Chic. Chic. Alright, got a really nice wide shot right here of Jupiter. Red Storm is basically gone, but Io hanging out on the cusp. And Europa, bottom left corner. Out of frame are Ganymede and Callisto. Let's get some nice footage right here for a second. I don't know, Nathan, what's going on, Nathan, and what's up until the end? So I'm not sure what the "it's a ball" comment is about. I'm not sure if it's like a flat earth thing, but I don't know, I think you just saw that the red storm on Jupiter, whatever you think Jupiter is, just disappeared from view. So this is not like really something I want to kind of force on people, but the whole point is that we're looking at Jupiter in whatever context it is, and we just get to experience it in a new way. So I don't want to convince anybody that the Earth is not flat or flat. It's more about just being together and enjoying and appreciating space and music and other people online in a polite way. So I'm not saying anything about ball or flat or anything like that. Also, Tom, like I've heard a lot of rhetoric around the flat Earth stuff, but like I gotta say the whole wandering star thing just is so very confusing. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where I just never understood that reference. I mean, please don't explain it necessarily, but I'm just saying like I mean I know the reference, I've read about it, but the point is like if it's wandering, then it's moving. And if it's a star, then it's made of something. So the idea of things being both realistic, like visual things that are also fake seems to just like not jive really overall. But I feel y'all, everyone can have their own opinions about things. That's what's so cool about the world. What do we got? Alright, let me go back to some older stuff. This is a bit groovy. Like, I don't know, just repeating fake over and over and over again doesn't really mean anything, to be honest. I mean, after a while it will become boring. So I kind of encourage everybody to really stop complaining and like just do something about it. Like go out there and do some experiments in a laboratory or apprentice at a lab, or make content that's really positive, that uplifts people, or write a good song. make a cool video that's not like just bringing people down about shit, because man, there's enough of that. There's so many fucking videos, excuse my language, that bring people down, and that's not what this channel's about. This channel's about like really uplifting people, even if it's a very small group of people. And mostly because I need it for myself. I need to uplift myself, and I found that space and just getting rid of all the other bullshit around it is a true way to have a cerebral, transcendent experience that's like akin to taking psychedelics without taking psychedelics, and you can do it from your living room. So anyway, that's them thoughts. Hey, thanks Deborah, I appreciate it. The whole idea of like stars fake or not fake, like they're just visual cues. You know, they're just objects in our environment, whatever they are. That's the whole thing. Like fake or not fake implies that there's some sort of alternative. It's always this kind of, it's not that, in a way it actually, while it sounds kind of annoying, ultimately because it's just very repetitive, it really comes down to like, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. It's like an old tradition of I think it's maybe I'm misquoting it, but it's like something called Tatvamasi, where the old Hindu scriptures talk about like what God is in the context of what God isn't. So it's not that, it's not that, it's not that. The whole idea of it's fake, it's fake, it's fake, everything is fake. News is fake, facts are fake, everything is fake is just an old tradition of chattering and just babbling about, you know, everything we see. And maybe it's just a perspective that people have to go through, or maybe people live their entire lives in that sphere of, I don't know. I always talk about things in spheres, you know, it's this weird thing where this wedge has been driven between people who talk about the world in spherosity or in flatness. And it's just such a silly distinction because we're all here, or at least the few of us that are. I'm just reading back. When I talk like that, I kind of just focus on the screen, the Jupyter screen, and I'm not reading the comments, so let me just read back up a little bit. What up there, Vision? Good to see you, bud. Nathan says, appreciate you filming. Everyone in the chat, make sure to throw a thumbs up. I appreciate that. Nathan Thompson says, who says stars and planets are fake? I don't know, I see that comment a lot. Maybe I was just reading into it. Maybe I'm wrong. But it is a viewpoint that I see on a lot of videos. I'll talk about it a little bit further. What's up there, Kim Windsor? Said exactly, thank you, but I'm not sure to exactly what. Nathan says, you can't test Earth's surface in a lab. But I don't think that's really true. And then true love is sharing flat Earth with the kids. If that's true love to you, then that's your thing. Everybody's got their thing. What up there, Rockstar? Good to see you. I didn't say the news is any source of information. In fact, it's the total opposite. I've been trying to say that for the last week. If you listen to the shows, I've been saying that the news is actually a mouthpiece for the corporations of America. There's no real system. It's just a company with a mouthpiece. So please don't misinterpret. What up there, C. Smith? The double wave on Jupiter, it's funny you asked that because I watched that again. I went back through a couple of my old playlist videos because I actually really enjoy watching some of this stuff, or a lot, like I enjoy it just as much as the next person. So yeah, I watched the Jupiter Wave, and then I went and watched John McKeon's one, and I don't know, man. It's not like it's something that can't be really identified. It's obviously these kind of like ripples are part of transverse waves, are part of fractal patterns, are part of interference patterns. So having a double ripple, like tiny, small, like double pulse wave across the sky, so it could be any number of things, you know, from radio spectrometers trying to measure things, from solar dust or certain cosmic rays hitting our atmosphere or ionosphere and creating ripples. Maybe that's what it looks like. It could be a double sheath, a plasma double sheath. I know that Mark D'Antonio and a couple of other people are very adamant that it's airplane trails. I don't know if anyone's updated their views on that, but I saw a couple of episodes on that. A lot of people think it's airplane trails. It definitely could be that. Maybe I haven't seen the type of trails that often, so I'm still doubtful that it's that. Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on it, but I can't really pinpoint anything. I mean, what kind of measurement could we really do? If anyone has a good idea on how to solve what the double wave is, then please do it. You know, there are tons of people who filmed it. I mean, I got the lunar wave 3 times, Crow I'm sure like a dozen times. I feel like, you know, that thing is either a man-made event or it's something that's happening with cosmic radiation to some degree. And it falls into the category of waves and patterns. So it doesn't seem like something extraordinary, but the origin source is definitely a question. Like glitch in the Matrix. Think about, you know, the whole influence of Hollywood and movies and Philip K. Dick and all these books, and you know, really you have to kind of start to, that's why I'm trying to be consistent about saying observational science and going back to observational science, because, you know, whether or not this is a simulated dream reality and you're imagining everything, there are parameters within this matrix. And within those parameters, there are all these really interesting questions to ask and to explore. So just calling it the Matrix is not really enough anymore for me. You guys are saying chemtrails or contrails. So this is my stance on the airplane trails. Yes, it's two lines that cross, right? But the thing is, with airplane trails, you get that turbulent vortex no matter what. Like you've seen, I mean, my old school people have seen the stream where we got airplanes going across the moon, and even Saturn at some points, and definitely the Jupiter wave, and like it's completely different than those vortexial trails that basically kind of fall, they cascade down like clouds across the sky. And lunar waves and the Jupiter wave are very distinct. They have their own speed. They're very, very thin, and they go across at a rate, at a clip. Like it feels like that. It's not just like somebody guessing. There are tons of people who interpret it who are not even into that, and they look at it and they can tell that it has its own kind of speed and its own timing, and it feels like a pulse. So yeah. It's an open question. Like, instead of making fun of it, I would urge scientists and astronomers, astrophysicists, people who are on YouTube who care about engaging the public about science, instead of calling everybody names and insulting people's intelligence who are asking questions. Go look at the videos and leave an intelligent and open the conversation, the debate about like what these lunar waves are. And if it's a dumb phenomenon and everyone's too dumb to understand what it is, then just put together a little video explaining what that is, because it's clearly a phenomenon that many people in all sorts of circles online really look at and are very confused by. So it's this terrible culture that we live in now where like you're just denigrated for asking questions. Let me just take apart these just for fun. I hope I don't sound down about this. I'm just thinking about things a little, like trying to be focused about it. So Dustin Watkins, what's happening, says, yep, a lot of space influence. What else? Space influence. Movies want us to love space. Yes, but my take on that is that they want us to love space in a mythological sense, you know, in a fantastical sense versus, like, for example, anti-gravitic technology based on Tesla and Faraday's work is something that could technically be real and probably is real. It's probably Israel. It's probably Israel. And what's it called? And the fact that we can't have a discussion about this type of technology without invoking aliens, conspiracies, it's just new, different science. And obviously, like, people say, yeah, we burn people at the stake for that sort of thing, and man has been doing this forever, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can see that markets will shift if people stop consuming a certain product. And so if you can use that tactic, then you can shift markets by actually being a smart consumer or a critical consumer. You don't, like, smartness is a concept, because there are a lot of smart people who are very, very evil, and then there are also really dumb people who are just very sweet. So it doesn't really gauge. Yeah, maybe it happens every time they use CERN. Hey, that's not a bad hypothesis, because CERN does suck up a ton of power. And maybe they don't even mean to do it, and that's what just happens. And, you know, how many times is so rare for how many people are actually watching the skies for that to happen. It could also be, you know, military stuff where they're scanning the skies for stuff. Who knows? I just don't feel like it's anything alien-based. I don't feel like any of the transits are anything extraterrestrial. They're just all terrestrial. It's much more logical that way. Man is very, very intelligent and very capable, and some groups of people are allowed to take reality to an extreme, and some are not allowed to take reality to any level at all. And then the rest of us are kind of just strewn about in between, kind of trying to figure things out. So I'm going to zoom back into Jupes. I wish my tracking were a little better, but what can you do? And of course, I have a little bug on my screen right in front of the chat room. Oh, what was I gonna? Yeah, I wanted to say something just about, like, tracking the sky for 1,000,000 years. So the concept of 1,000,000 years, or 150 million years, or 4 billion years, or 13.7 billion years, these are completely extrapolated figures that really just invoke a sense of unbelonging and a distance to another time, right? And while it's very poetic, and there are tons of visuals created in movies and books and TV shows about how, you know, the dinosaurs all existed, and then they looked up at the sky and there's this huge asteroid or meteor that came and killed everything, and then these little rodents came up. So we have this visual, but this visual is a visual created by people like you and me. It's not reality. And saying things are 1,000,000 years old is just, like, really not allowing for a discussion to happen about how old the Earth really is, and how history really happens, and how fossilization happens. And I want to just call action to not doing that anymore, where we just throw out random, yeah, give or take 1,000,000 years, you know, but that really does matter, actually. Or give or take, 200 or so light years. And they say this, and I mean popular science, which is what I'm trying to replace here, by making it very focused and observational science. Like, if you had a laboratory, you'd have like 30 to 40 people who are really focused on something and getting that thing done. And so I don't need 1,000,000 people to watch TakeBackSpace if we have just a select group of people who are willing to just spread information in a more intelligent and thoughtful way, in a kinder way, to ask more critical questions, to advance physics, to demand results for our tax dollars instead of complaining. Because really, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it. It's almost like the whole lucid dreaming principle of intentional and precision thinking versus this nebulous vagueness about, like, I talk about a lot with marching or voting, like, we vote for gun control. Like, that means nothing. Really, it's such a nebulous, vague thing, which is why these myths propagate. It's the same thing with movies. They allow myths to propagate by creating the intro to movies, and every single movie says the Earth is 13.7 blah blah. No, the Earth is 13.7 billion years old, and the Moon is 4.6 billion years old, and it came through the early bombardment phase, and blah blah blah. And it's stated as pure fact, and it's really not even close to that. It's a great poetic story, but it really limits the discussion in terms of people who are super nerdy and who want to figure out how to progress science and move things forward. If we keep thinking about 200-year-old scientists and idolizing them, you know, people who we don't even know and we can't even talk to are people who rule our lives. And, you know, I'm certain at the same time people are saying, you know, throw out, you know, what do you want me to throw out all of physics? And no, but there's a middle ground between accepting what works, you know, like computers and screens and looking at Jupiter through a telescope versus, you know, leveling up physics to the point where we have anti-gravitic machines, we have healing technologies using sonic wave and probably way other things. I almost feel stupid saying those technologies because I don't know. But I'm speculating in a logical realm of what we see nowadays being propagated by movies, where you spend $1 billion or make $1 billion on Marvel Endgame to convince people to buy more shit instead of actually using that money to really travel to planets. So the priorities there, that's not really priorities that a movie studio really has. So a movie studio doesn't care about going to Jupiter or to the moon. They care about faking it and putting it on his TV screen so they can sell you t-shirts and food and crap, right? And messages, and obviously some sort of propaganda as well. But mainly that's what their goal is. But your motives are to actually live on Earth and survive, or at least my motives are to live on Earth and survive to some degree. To want to survive to some degree. But also here is to really get in touch with the planetary systems, the moon, of course, and to just really see what space looks like for myself. And then I get to share it with a bunch of cool people and actually make something happen. So I think I've been going on for quite a while. Z-Proxy says Earth might be just 6,000 years old and is just a digital virtual reality matrix system. Okay, it could equally be 10,000 years old and have interacted with the moon and Mars in close proximity, exchanging massive electric discharge, creating the Grand Canyon, the canyons on the moon, Valles Marineris on Mars, and then once this incredible interaction happened because of electromagnetism and repulsion force, Mars was flung back into a different orbit and the moon was flung into its orbit, and that's how Earth is scarred, and it could be 10,000 years old, and that's the point where Atlantis happened. That's where we had high-level civilization who understood the stars, and they left us messages talking about this. So if you look at the David Talbot's work and Walt Thornhill and Emanuel Velikovsky putting together the mythological archetypes that were left by people on Earth however many years ago, they all correspond to the stickman and the star shape and the swastika and a bunch of other symbols that couldn't have come from anywhere. They were referenced by everybody on Earth at the same time, whether the Earth was flat or not flat. So you have like everybody on Earth experiencing the same geometry and the same shapes at the same time, and these shapes look like people and snakes and dragons, and then they also look like plasma filaments in laboratories today. It's nothing more complicated than that. Like, it doesn't need to be more complicated than that. Once you get there, you realize that if there were any types of electrical discharges exchanged between planets and or Earth and the Moon and or Earth and Mars, etc., then you have an electric space. Then you have a liquid hydrogen sun that actually is electric, or the black hole sun. You have a lot of concepts. You have hollow Jupiter, hollow planets, hollow stars, hollow Earth possibly, with a shell, like an outer electron shell. And even the electron shell could be probability. So it could be a matrix-based simulation, whatever, cellular system. You know, there's so many ways you could take it. It's not just flat Earth, it's not just concave Earth, it's not just heliocentrism. Like, we get to go forward. And unless somebody just goes forward, everybody's going to keep being like, oh, let's just complain about this one more thing, because there's one more thing that we can complain about. And really, it dawned on me that, like, if you don't just push forward and say, hey, like, we're just going to do this other thing right now, and stop squabbling, let's just, like, focus on how the hell Earth actually has the moon, like, what is the moon, which means we have to get there, we have to understand how to get there, we have to trust the people going there, we have to get cameras on there. You know, if people really give a shit about leaving Earth, and Earth is, oh my god, it's overpopulated now, oh my god, mankind sucks. If you're of that nature and you want to leave Earth, then you should be really focused on how to get off Earth to the moon. Yo, what's up, Mr. Rojogo Bin? How you doing? Movies and stories can be inspiring, and games too, and movies, yep, absolutely. But it's like 95-5 right now. Most movies indulge killing and abuse and monopolization and excusing capitalism and excusing terrible behavior at the quote-unquote guilty pleasure excuse, or the, oh, it's always been that way excuse. But until somebody says, you know, like, it doesn't have to stay that way, instead of, it's always been that way. Well, it doesn't have to stay that way. You get to change. I mean, you may or may not have your own beliefs about gluten, for example, but if you can get if you can literally get wheat companies to change their behavior, then you can get NASA to change their behavior. I believe it. Like, wheat is so entrenched in ancient culture, and it's such a part of mankind, and a big business wheat will change their marketing and tactics. Now, you could say that they don't give a shit and they haven't changed anything, and I would probably agree with that to some degree. However, even if they spend money on their marketing tactics to change their products to say gluten-free, means a market of people who stop buying a product can actually affect a massive market shift. So if you take that to heart and you consider, like, how we treat our agencies and our government, we actually just complain. Or, you know, I'm going to retract that statement. I hate the way I phrased that. So see, this is self-correction on a better level of just, you know, sweeping generalizations of people and sweeping generalizations of behavior. Instead, what would be great is to truly kind of all get on board with the idea of approaching new science and then asking our government to do that. Genghis Khan says, too many cultures with different beliefs, which one is right? So my answer to that really is that they're, you know, both bad and good need to both exist simultaneously. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted here. I want to lower that. Yeah, I feel like for sure you can't just get rid of bad things or evil things, and you can't solve things, and there will be no eternal peace. I don't believe in any, or I don't feel like those things are tangible. I don't think those things would be even satisfying. What I do feel is that there should be some sort of balance, right? So the idea of, for example, giving up meat that a lot of people are doing, or going green, or any number of these things, or not voting, hopefully, hint, hint, stop voting. If people really start shifting into a different modality where they're like, no, this is a corrupt system, I'm not going to support it. This is a poor way to treat people, I'm not going to support it. you know, and then you vote with your actions, your mind, your intention, and your pocketbook or your wallet, right? This is the whole thing. That's how you actually change mega industry to give a shit about what the people say. The problem is that voting always comes down to this very specific type of interaction where you have this kind of split between 100 million people or so, if that, and it makes it very hard to choose right or wrong. There is no right or wrong there. In fact, you know, if you had necessitative corruption and people had to be corrupt, it would be fair to have both parties rule simultaneously. So have 2 presidents, or have 3 presidents that have to share the duty, so that not a vice president of the same party, right? So 2 presidents, so the vice president would basically be on a different side. If you believed in politics, I don't believe in that system because things are not that simple, but that would be a solve. And these are some thoughts going off on a few rants lately, man. I don't know, I've been feeling it. Just that's why I kind of stayed away from the whole community for a while, because, you know, there's so much out there and it really gets me amped up about how to approach it and how to actually be a good activist, or not even activist, I think that's the wrong word. It's just, I give a shit, you know? I don't want people to get radiated and feel in pain. I want old people to die in pain. I want, like, people to have enough money to eat. You know, not in that weird, like, freedom way, in the balanced way. There should be organization, but organizations should work for the benefit of the people, and the people should want those organizations to succeed. Instead, now those organizations impose their success, and people kind of just deal with it because they're so large and they're essentially passive. But that situation could change. Yeah, it's getting toasty in here, speaking of getting hot. This room gets a cooking at night. Got a little zoomed in shot right here. C. Smith says, we all need to form a community, but find a way to screen the psychopaths you hear about in some of them. But if you just allow that sentence to sit with you for a moment and then decipher, like, you're already prejudging a scenario before it's happened, like, that's what prejudging means. But you're prejudging a scenario because we have baked in ideas from movies, from stuff we've heard on screen, from authority figures that we at some point respected in our lives, who tell us that some people say that blah blah blah, and then comedians use that same cliche where they say some people say, or a third of Americans say, and they do the same thing in Europe, and I'm sure they do the same thing in like probably Bhutan and Iceland, but that's really what it is. It's just cliches, right? So the first part of that is we need to all form a community. And then you say, but we need to screen psychopaths. So I agree that we have to be safe and that there are dangerous people. But at the same time, when you have a strong community and you have alert people all working towards a common good, I think there is a contingency of, you know, what I guess I construe as magnetic impulse reality, where you're actually affecting things with your mind. And I feel that if you remove prejudgment and then you add a positive communal organization with intent on not having people lose their temper and not denigrating people and not calling people names, and you just work on this, you know, like, I know that people think that I'm kind of, or I'm actually right here prejudging what other people are thinking about what I'm saying, right? So this is an opportunity for me to not get so caught up in what I'm thinking about that and just continue my point. That's all the work. And then once you do that work, or once one does that work, then you feel really empowered. I mean, that's the empowerment, self-empowerment, by interacting with the world in a way that empowers you. And it means you're going to still face a lot of negative energy because that's the system, right? But the idea is to raise vibration, I guess, or to actually, what it really means is to increase the number of positive scenarios in this system, is sort of what I think is a general kind of movement towards a greater good, right? Like, what is a greater good? You know, it's a very nebulous concept, but what it really means is you just want to create more scenarios where more people are happy and where less people die unfairly or are hurt unfairly, right? Like, you can't eradicate hurt and pain and death, but you can improve the number of scenarios or the quality of the scenarios. What up, eat all your fish, what's up? Petra A, thanks so much. Listen, I'm trying here to put it all together. This has been like 4 years of me trying to probably articulate this one concept and try and get it out a few nights in a row in a way that like really makes sense, because it's actionable. It's something that we can all do, and we can start doing it right away. You know, we all have people in our lives, and we all have YouTube channels, not all of us, but some of us, or a blog or a piece of art that we make that can actually say something or just bring pleasure to somebody as opposed to irritate them or make fun of them. And then further, you know, taking that into the realm of advancing science and just, you know, making people feel a little bit uncomfortable. You know, there are ways to actually indulge in discomfort by actually talking to people about difficult topics, or pausing when somebody says something awful to say, hey man, like, or lady, don't say that awful thing. There's no need for that. You know, we have enough people. It's actually just super boring at this point, to be perfectly honest. That's why, like, the novelty machine in my brain or the dielectric field that speaks through me at this moment is seeking novelty. And honestly, bullying is just boring. It's so boring and useless, and it really has hurt science mostly. I mean, I know it sounds definitely a little selfish because I'm like nerdy and sciencey, but it's definitely hurt music, and it's hurt science. This idea that if you're a certain type of person that's snarky or quippy or whatever, that you can make fun of somebody and somehow you're better than them, or somehow you've actually done something. But that really doesn't help anything at all. Somebody's saying NPCs. Yeah, the non-playable impulse characters. That's very possible. I think about it a lot, like the lawnmower people that drive me crazy. And then I feel like, are these people just generating from the manifest, from the from the manifold, I mean, just like coming in and out of the background just to test my limits on lawnmowing care? But I also feel like it's probably because nobody wants to say anything. Like, everybody wants to get their lawns mowed. Everybody does. But mow your own lawn, man. What are these leaf blower guys, like, who don't live in your neighborhood and you pay minimum wage, basically? Why are they tidying up your lawn that you're paying money for? It's so crazy to me. But then I think, are these people just parts of my mind where they're just tempting my will and my calmness? Yeah, I think about that all the time. You know, I even consider things like, imagine that the government was actually good, and the way they thought that raising people's awareness was by challenging the rest of humanity, you know, 95% of all humanity, with very difficult scenarios and see how they react, you know. I think about it all the time because I like to, I like chess a lot, and I love playing the enemy's side and getting inside the enemy head, or like the enemy or the polar side, and just seeing like, what would I do if I were that person? It's part of the side of me that's, I guess, that's deductive reasoning, like where I think about something and then I apply what I know about it and then come up with something new. And so I feel like it certainly has, man, I lost the thread. Sometimes you lose the thread too, and you just have to admit to it. Yeah, like leaf blowers went from like no leaf blowers to a few leaf blowers to like 4 people with the headsets and like almost militarized SWAT teams showing up like 2 or 3 days of the week, like just. Okay, I know I just did a whole hour about like not complaining and lamenting shit, so I'm not gonna indulge. I'm gonna be better than that. But really, like mow your own lawn, people. Use a damn rake. These leaf blowers are ridiculous and bad for dogs and cats and little creatures and woodpeckers and butterflies and cute little creatures that go around on the streets. They're breathing all this terrible dust. And you guys are too. Like, if you're a leaf blower, like, I don't know, go and petition the leaf blower community and get a healthier leaf blower that's a rake. Yeah, some of the landscapers are level 12 agents. It's all agents, of course, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, the lawnmower people, all of them are all like just agents because the government takes all our taxes and they hire these people to come like change all the votes and spy on you like in your home. They're probably part of my carpet at this point. They want to know everything about the skin pores on my knee. I don't know. It could just be like what was I saying? Eric P. Dollard, like he said, silica, like the actual entire element, the entire fundamental nature. I don't know if it's an element or a molecule of silica, taking over from carbon, and this is what the AI system basically is doing. Is just like making carbon-based life forms obsolete by driving us slowly bored. Cleary says I'm getting hungry. You're totally right. I'm a little bit hungry, but I can still laugh at things. All right, we're losing the Jupiter view. It's just in time. Just in time for me to go make some dinner. Roger Brennan says I use Ego Electric. What's that? So I read it as an Ego Electric, like I just read waffle. I just read waffle. Mr. Rojogo Bin says, Controlment Mind is meant to enforce poly many side death. I hate sounding so negative. See, I don't know if that's really negative. I think that's the system. And then we are humans that have massive electrical potential, right? And so if 40 people really put their minds together and start to create things, things will shift. It might not happen in our lifetimes, but that's actually how it shifts. It's not by voting or marching. It's about somehow those votes and marches had intent and electrical impulse attached to them. So whatever fallout from certain events actually transpired in the positive realm, I feel are like byproducts. But if you actually focus your intent and people really learn how to do that, I think that's how you actually shift things. But that's also within the realm of the giant who the F knows anything about anything right now, because fair play to anybody who does. Exactly, blowers suck is the joke. I'm gonna make that shirt. But yeah, I'm notifying people about the leaf blower issue. But it's really because I don't want to breathe that air, and it's just, it's much nicer to really treat nature. What's actually ironically tragic in a way is when I listen to Alan Watts talk about stuff from the 60s, right? He talks about, what was it? He was saying just mankind's assault on nature. And it's so true, but it's also really private industry who's assaulting nature. Like, human beings have always pushed aside a branch or cut down a piece of wood to make a house, but it's actually private industry, and it's a small subset of boardroom members who have actual power, and those are the people who are actually, at least on one level, making decisions about having, assaulting nature, which sucks. So we shouldn't really have leaf blowers. People should rake their lawns and throw away or recycle the leaves in some way. And I feel like there's probably some product out there that could use static electrostatic charge to actually have leaves stick to it and then maybe disintegrate them into paper. Now, if you have a leaf blower in your hot tub, like Vision is saying, then it's a totally different thing. I'm not judging. Stay safe. Mr. Rojogo Bin, gotta stay positive, the negatives will drain you. The idea is to just do as much as possible, right? When you can, and when you can't, you just gotta rest. All right, everybody, that's good for me. I think I'm gonna go chow down pretty hard. I hope y'all enjoyed me ranting a little bit. It's up there, Daryl. I'm just about to shut it down. I've just been literally talking for what feels like a solid hour, but interspersed with a few songs. And Flat Earth Mother, what's happening? Cool, my space family. Have a great rest of your night. Have a great rest of your week. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow if the weather's clear. It feels like some clouds are rolling in. Happy new moon. And if not, I'll catch you. I'll definitely catch you for a Saturn or Jupiter later this week. Okay. Peace out, everybody. I'll give you all a shout quick. Roger, Genghis, Cleary, Flat Earth Mother, Rojogo Bin, Light Moon, Ellie, I know Mary was here, sorry about your fish, Vision, Eat All Your Fish, I said that? No, I said fish, but Eat All Your Fish was also here, and C. Smith was here, Z Proxy was here, and 921 Virgo, and Tom, and Deborah Sita, nice to see you again. Kim Windsor, and Until the End, and that's all I got. The rant is paid, exactly. And Imagine, thank you. All right, peace out, everybody. Have a good night.